감사합니다. Before we begin learning Korean today, I just want to make a confession/apology. Basically, I've realized that I am absolutely incapable of following any type of regular uploading schedule. I do succeed sometimes and it lasts for a couple of months, but then it all just goes down the drain and I end up having this awkward intermediary period where I just release videos whenever and about whatever, and my heart is just not in the right place at those times. So with that said, today being Thursday, I've been conditioned over the past 2 years to think of it as my weekly Korean video day, and whenever I do not release a weekly Korean video on a Thursday, I just feel this pain on the inside and I just do not feel right at all. So in order to get rid of this feeling that I've been having for the past God knows how many weeks that I haven't released a weekly Korean video, I'm sorry guys, I decided to go back to the basics and talk to you guys about something that I honestly should have mentioned way back when we just started learning Korean, because these are such fundamentals that are going to take your Korean language onto a completely different level. They're gonna make your sentences more complex, you'll be able to fit more into one sentence, so you wouldn't have to use very choppy and blocky simple sentences and make your speech much more fluid. So let's get into it. From the title of this video, you realize that we're gonna be talking about multiple ways to say and in Korean. And honestly, as I was scripting this video, I started really thinking about the actual meaning of the word and, both in Korean and in English, because in Korean, most of the words that do mean and, they also mean with. And in English, sometimes and with can be interchangeable in certain sentences. So this was really interesting for me to discover because it just brings Korean and English that much closer in terms of grammar, and hopefully it makes it a little bit easier for us English speakers to learn. The biggest difference between English and Korean words for and, because it has multiple, is the fact that in English we have one word and we can use it with nouns, apples and oranges. We can use it with verbs, I went and I climbed. We can use it with adjectives, she's pretty and smart, and we can even use it with adverbs. Oh my god, brain fart. Fundamentally and inevitably. I cannot finish the sentence, but you got the gist. Whereas in Korean, there are some words that you can use for nouns, and then there are other words that also mean and that you can use with verbs or adjectives, or even to connect certain phrases or sentences. So the first way you can say and in Korean is by adding gwa or wa to a noun. And here the deal is really similar to all the particles that we are already aware of. And with these guys, the deal is simple. Whenever the word ends on a consonant, we add the vowel version of them, or whatever version starts with a vowel. And whenever we have a word that ends on a vowel, we add a version of them that starts with a consonant to create a more fluid transition between the word and the particle. However, when it comes to gwa, wa, unfortunately the deal is completely reversed. So, with words that end on a consonant, like 양말, socks, we actually add the version of gwa, wa that starts with a consonant as well. So we end up with 양말과. But then when it comes to words that end on a vowel, like 전화, phone, we add wa to them, and it turns into 전화와. Even though this concept is really not that difficult and we've learned it before with other particles, I always end up mixing these up because, well, I think of the regular way that we add particles to words, which unfortunately this doesn't fit, but that is okay. Even if you do make a little mistake and you put gwa after a word that ends with a vowel, no one's gonna really pay attention to it, and even if they do, they'll correct you, and there you go, you got a learning experience. You'll never make this mistake again. So don't worry too much about that whenever you're speaking. Just go out there and just talk, really. Speaking of talking, the way you can construct sentences with this is really simple. Just like in English, you make a list of words and you just put these particles in between of those words to, well, create a list. So if, for example, there's a pencil and a paper, I take the two words, 연필, which is pencil, and 종이, which is paper, and then I literally just add and in between of them. And the only difference with English is that I merge the word and with the first word in the list. So it turns into 연필과 종이. And then I can continue creating whatever sentence I really want to. I can take this clause, 연필과 종이, and I can turn it into a subject of the sentence by adding 는 to it. So if I want to say that there is a pen and a paper on the desk, I will say 연필과 종이는 책상 위에 있어요. So this way of connecting nouns in Korean is quite polite, so you don't really need to worry with whom you're using these particles. Whether it is your boss or your colleague or someone younger, it is completely normal and totally okay to use these. However, there are more casual versions that you can use of the word and, which also happen to mean with. And these are 하고 or 랑/이랑. So these words are once again not standalone words, just like 과 and 와. We add them to nouns. Let's say you're in a restaurant and you have a menu in front of you and all you need to do is say 이거, add 하고 to it, and then point to something else and repeat that process however many dishes you want to order, and then just say 주세요, which means please give. So 이거하고 이거 주세요. Please give me this and this. Same thing you can use with 랑 or 이랑. And here once again we have two versions of this particle depending on whatever consonant or vowel the word that we connect it to ends with. Let's say your mother asks you what you've had for breakfast, so you can just tell her 우유랑 빵 먹었어요. I had milk with bread, or I had milk and bread. Here, you can substitute either and or with when you're translating to English, and it really doesn't change the meaning of the sentence. Here are some examples. 남자친구하고 데이트할 거예요, which can mean I will go on a date with my boyfriend, or my boyfriend and I will go on a date. And I'm using this example just to show you guys that translations are never fully reliable, especially between two really different languages like English and Korean. So my number one tip when learning Korean would be to just forget English. Forget that you know any language and just learn it like a toddler. Learn it without basing it on anything. I know it's really hard, but this can greatly benefit you in the future. If you think that this is it for all the ways you can say and in Korean, you are so wrong, because there are so much more. Actually, okay, there's not that much more, but there are a few. And the next one is 그리고. And this word is actually a standalone word, so it does not need to be connected to any words, any nouns, adjectives, anything. And this guy can not only link words, but it can also link phrases and even sentences. So, if we really want to go back to our list making, we can substitute the 과와, the 하고, and the 랑 with 그리고. I can say 사과, 오렌지, 그리고 바나나. Apple, orange, and banana. But with that, the use of 그리고 doesn't end. We can actually link sentences with it. So, I can just say two separate sentences, 친구를 만났어요, make a full stop, and then say 영화를 봤어요. This will make sense, but it sounds really choppy, doesn't it? So, what we can do to freshen it up and make it sound more fluid is add 그리고. And what we'll have is 친구를 만났어요, 그리고 영화를 봤어요. I met a friend and we watched a movie. Take a note that we're not using any pronouns here in Korean because they're really unnecessary, because the context speaks for itself. If you've met a friend and then you watched a movie, you've probably watched it together with them, so you don't need to use we watched a movie. So, when it comes to linking sentences, 그리고 is really useful. But what if I want to link phrases? What if I don't want it to be two separate sentences in Korean and I want to make it one? Well, there's another particle that means and that we can use for it, and that is 고. And this guy is not a standalone word. It does get added to words, but it gets added to verbs, not nouns. And because in Korean adjectives have verb-like qualities, we also can add them to adjectives. If I want to say that I met a friend and watched a movie in one sentence, I can say 친구를 만났고 영화를 봤어요. We take 만났어요. We take away the formal conjugation, the 아요, and we're left with 만나, which is kind of the root of the past tense conjugation of the verb to meet, 만났다, and then we just add go to it. Done. 만났고. Simple? I think so. Now I challenge you to make your own sentences and feel free to share them in the comment section below. This is a great way for you to practice. Otherwise, if you like this video, do click the like button. It really does support me, and if you want to learn Korean together with me some more, do subscribe. With that said, I hope today's lesson was useful. I hope you liked going back to the basics and really drilling why and how things are the way they are in Korean. I hope all of your studies are going well, you all are happy and healthy, and I'll see you all later this week. Bye! 안녕!